judge position in the late 1980s. He was rejected by Republicans.
Hi everyone, Anthony Paitano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Sampha album, Process. Sampha is a UK singer-songwriter who I have been waiting. I've been waiting for him to release a full-length commercial album for a while. Really since the release of Subtract's self-titled 2011 album where he stole the show on numerous tracks. With his moody, beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful English croons that have an eerie similarity to that of James Blake's. And I know some people may not be happy with that comparison, and I myself am not completely happy with that comparison either. I think they're different artists, but the similarities are there. And if you don't believe me, I was listening to this thing, and my significant other walked in and was just like, oh, new James Blake? Is this new James Blake? The similarities are there, but the thing is that really, in the case of Sampha and James Blake, it's a similarity in the tone of their voice. As far as their songwriting styles, their lyrical styles, the way that they arrange instrumentation, especially with this new album, as the years pull on, the differences between Blake and Sampha are ever clearer. Whether or not Sampha sounds like one of his contemporaries has never been an issue for me with his music. It's more been the fact that, especially with his EP that he dropped back in 2013, I think, the songs were kind of unfinished, unfocused, the instrumental's way too skeletal to get excited about. Since the release of that EP, I know he's been working with a lot of bigger artists over the past few years, sort of doing a lot of co-songwriting. But what I really wanted was an album, and even though it took a while, Process is the finished, focused, and passionate collection of Sampha songs that I've been waiting for. So maybe the wait was worth it, considering all of the very tasteful and finely tuned songs on this thing, the futuristic mix of soul and R&B that you get out of the instrumentation, which at this point will most likely have a larger audience than it would have maybe 5 years ago. The sounds on this record are a beautiful mix of electronic and acoustic sounds, synth patches from another galaxy, beautiful sequenced loops, but you know, there's also some gorgeous piano on here, Sampha's wonderful voice, and some live drums occasionally too. There is a decent amount of instrumental variety on this album, but I will say that the mood is somewhat uniform pretty much for the entirety of the album. You're getting all of these songs that are heartbroken, they're sad, it's moody, it's kind of lovesick, and it's fervent. A lot of the lyrics on this record are pretty poetic, a little dodgy. Sampha's not trying to hit you over the head with what exactly he's singing about all the time. You've got to read into it a little bit. And his singing voice, while there is a lot of passion and emotional potency, I think a lot of power to it, there's a shyness to it as well. It seems like he knows when to lay it on hard, lay it on thick, get super heated, and he knows when to dial it back to sort of build tension or pull the audience into this lull of all the blue feelings he's wrapped this album in. And I'm also really enamored with the instrumentation he surrounds these tracks with, whether it's the song Blood on Me, which is the most punchy and instantaneous track on the entire record, kicks off with these punchy drum loops, which I love. It hits so hard, it's very clunky, but then all of a sudden this really ominous piano lead comes in and the track instantaneously goes from funky to moody. The chorus, I can only describe as orgasmic, despite that being a little bit of a corny, overused word, but orgasmic nonetheless. Explosive instrumentation and one of Sampha's best vocal performances on the entire record. I also love the instrumental fire that's kind of burning underneath the song KORA sings. It does take a little while to get going, but once it does, the instrumentation picks up, the pace is really fast, a lot of the melodies are really busy, and then behind it, it's like all this crazy live drumming, propulsive fills, really electrifying. Of course, Sampha also provides some really stripped back skeletal slow burners as well, like the opening track, 100 Celsius Plastic, a good tone setter for the album, the very glossy Heavenly Closer, which I do think is a little underwritten as it does end somewhat abruptly. But I think my favorite ballad on the entire album is No One Knows Me Like the Piano, a track that is a piano ballad about the instrument that Sampha is literally playing on. He sort of sings about the piano as if it's this confessional place for him where he can sort of be himself, reveal another side of himself, tell the truth, expose things emotionally that he might not be able to talk about otherwise. But a lot of these other tracks that may start off kind of easygoing do have some surprises, whether it be the chorus kind of, bursting, being very cathartic, or there's a significant instrumental change in the last third, like on the song Timmy's Prayer, which originally swings like a beautiful old school like spiritual, but eventually we get all of these like tense, bustling electronics sort of pushing and propelling the last third of the track into this great finish. As Sampha is singing so hard, he's like crying out about fucking up. The song Under is another awesome tune on here, beautifully eerie. I love all of the very strange and somewhat unsettling and chilling background vocals that Sampha multi-tracks himself, singing about gasping for air and about manipulation in this relationship. That's kind of the subject matter of the song. There are a lot of highlights on this record. I love Sampha's performances on this record, love the production on this record, love his voice on this record. The writing on this record is quality too. There are a few tracks that I thought were kind of so-so and blended in a little bit too much into the very samey, moody, sad, forlorn vibe of this entire project. And there were at least several points where I thought that the electronics or maybe the instrumental changes that were trying to go a little harder, a little more exciting, get really visceral, could have been a bit more explosive. The electronics occasionally do come off kind of stale or stiff, but Sampha's piano playing and especially his singing does a lot to warm up these sounds, warm up these electronics, give them a lot of soul and energy. So moving forward, those are the kinds of tweaks I would love to see in Sampha's music. But as of right now, there are so many great things going for him and this record. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe. And please don't cry. Just leave an angry comment if you're pissed off. And that's it. Sampha, Process, other videos you should check out next to my head. Subscribe to the channel, official website. Eat your fruits and vegetables and stay hydrated forever.